Hello, everyone. Well, welcome to Conversations with Yolanda. I'm so excited to have this guest with me today. I've been wanting to have this conversation with her about fitness. This is my trainer. I don't care if I've moved to DC. This is still my trainer, and I'm watching her online. I'm like, okay, you need to get up. You need to go move. You need to go to the gym.
Yes, 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 yes.
So, welcome, Tina.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So
Yes.
glad and honored to be a part.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So I want to start just by having you share a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to jump into your book, your new book that released in 2021, your your fitness line that released in 2021. But you've been
Yeah,
doing that kind of stuff for a long time, but that was just the new line.
yeah. You're right. Yeah. That's somebody been around.
Yes. So just start off just telling them a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to jump into your book, It Happened to Me. We're going to
It
talk a little
happened
bit
to me.
about that.
So I am born and raised in Cali, pretty much all my life, and then married at a very young age. And kids and the mommy world and that whole thing. But fitness has kind of always been at the core since I was about 15, 16 years old. In California, they have weight training or they have gym. And so because I hated running, I opted for weight training. And so there's where my love began for the weight training side of my life. But PK's kid and grew up in the church and relationship with Christ at a very young age. So not just the church on Sundays and Wednesdays, but relationship with Christ at a very young age. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Something you just said that I think people forget. You said not just going to church, but having a relationship with Christ.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think people struggle with when they're stuck, but they
Mhm.
say, I go to church, but they
Mm-mm.
forget that it's about
Mm-mm.
that relationship,
It's a
not just
relationship.
going to the building.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And so, where
Yes.
did that come from for you? Was it your grandmother or your mother or your dad?
Yeah, definitely, I'm sure, streaming from my grandmother, but yeah, my upbringing with my father being a PK in the house, yeah, it was just relationships. So he would get up close to 4:30 as a child, and he would go into the room, come out of his room and go into the guest room, which was connected to my room, and I would hear his heavy voice praying and talking to God. And
Wow.
after, I don't know, months and months of that, I would just get up and jump into bed and go pray with him and study the word with him. So that's really all I knew. I mean, that was happening at 10, 11, 12, 13. It
Wow.
was really all I knew. And so I'm 49 now. And to this day, I don't think I've ever really missed a beat. I get up at 4:30 every morning, and that's my time. No time. I mean,
Wow.
crying babies or not, 4:30 is my time. You can
Exactly.
cry when I get
Wow.
through. They'll be all right.
Exactly. They will live. They will
Yeah,
live.
yeah. So yeah, relationship was just taught and embedded in me at a very young age. Whether we were at church service or not, it was relationship and faith and believing God for faith and just watching my parents believing for this and believing for that, and then it would come to pass, and we would talk about it. Like, remember when we were believing God for this, and we sat down and wrote down what we needed God to do, and we gave scripture to it, and so watching the manifestation all of my life since I was 10, it's really the only thing I knew. And so of course I repeated the same with my children and so forth.
Yes.
Hopefully they'll do the same with theirs.
Exactly. You plant that seed, you sow
Oh
it
yeah.
in the foundation,
Yeah.
and they get it. Even if
They
they
do.
try to, go off to the side a little bit, they
And
always
they
got to
do.
come back.
And they
They
do.
they do it, and we just have to keep praying because we already know the foundation has been
That's right.
laid.
That's right. That's right. That word not returning void is what I rely on.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I want to talk a little bit about your book. It happened to me, Behind the Smile. I've known you for a while, and I've always seen the strength on you. But a lot of times we see people, we're in circles with people, but we really, a lot of times, we don't really know their story.
Right.
We see there's a strength on them. We see there's a strong faith
Right.
on them. And I've seen throughout the time I've known you, anytime you opened your mouth, it was always the faith side of it, no matter what you were doing. So
Right.
what? And I'm not gonna give away your whole story. I need them to go buy the book. So we're gonna give them like some little nuggets, but we
Right.
need them to
Right.
go
Right.
get the book to see the full
Right.
story. But I wanted to ask you, why did you decide to write the book now and share your story?
Um, Basically, it was just, it's called Disobedience. It was supposed to be many years ago. But
We do that.
I fought. I mean, I'm very transparent. I fought with God because I struggled with. I'm not an author. I'm a mom and I'm a trainer. I don't know how to be an author. Um, I struggled with, my words weren't going to sound like an author. I struggled with, I just wasn't, didn't fit the part to write a book. I saw that to be way over there and out of my comfort zone. And he continued, he was steady. I just told you to write the book. And I kept saying, but I don't know how. Like I don't even know what to do, and I don't have the money, and all these of overlooking what he said to do. So had I had done it back then, it would have probably made more sense. But no matter what, his word didn't change with me. I need you to
Hmm.
write the book. I need you to get the
Hmm.
story out.
Mm.
So after, one lady, one of my clients moved, I can't remember where she moved off to, but on her last day of training, she gave me a large sum of money, a lump sum of money. And I said, "What are you doing? You don't owe me anything." And she says, "This is for, I believe you're going to write a book one day. And I wanted this to go
Wow.
towards that book." And me, chills came over me. She didn't make it overly spiritual. She exited the house. At that time, I was training in the house, and she left. I put it away up under my mattress, and, my little smirk of, I'm not gonna write no book. I'm not no author, but okay. And then many years later, fast forward, probably, man, it probably was 10 years later, maybe 7 to 10 years later, I was speaking at a speaking engagement on fitness and health and nutrition, and I was super tired. But there was another speaker that was going to be speaker, a pastor, and it's just kind of maybe the right thing to do, to kind of sit around and listen to what the other people have to say. So she was coming towards her end, and I told my husband, "Okay, let's leave now." Trying to tiptoe out the door. She says, "Excuse me, ma'am, can somebody grab her?" And in my mind, I was like, "Don't do that. Don't do that.
Exactly.
Don't do that." I'm trying to leave, and I'm tiptoeing lightly, and here you come. And she says, "I'm sorry, ma'am. I just need you to come back really quick. I've got to share something with you that God said." So it was people at the forefront. They opened up, allowed me to walk down the aisle, and she held my hand and she said, "God says you got about 2 or 3 books in you that you need to go ahead and get out." And I broke instantly, because I don't know her, never had heard of her. And we just were at the same conference. She knew nothing about me or my story. I was there to speak on fitness and health. We didn't talk anything about my past.
Mm.
Chills, crying, and still that insecurity when I got back. Like, God, why do you keep talking about this? I can't do it. I don't know what I'm doing. So that's pretty much how it came to where we are today. And finally, in COVID, he really was talking loud. There was no other distractions.
Exactly.
You
He
don't
got
have
us
nothing else to
all. He
do.
got us all during the pandemic,
You
during
ain't got
COVID. He
nowhere
was
to
like,
go, nowhere to be.
exactly. He's like, you're
Write the
all
book.
going to timeout. You're going to timeout, and you're going to do what I've already told you to do.
Exactly. So basically, he met me where I was, and I was
Hmm.
like, "Lord, I don't know how to do no computer. I'm not big on that. Like, I don't know, da da da. And sure enough, I accidentally ran across a microphone on some notes on my phone. And I was like, what is this? And I tapped it and it allowed me to talk. And it was typing out what I said. And I was like, Lord, he got such a sense of humor. So I went ahead and started writing the book. And he
Wow.
just, it was so comforting. Just tell the story. Don't worry about the
Yes.
words. Don't worry about any of that. Just tell the story. And once I rested in that he called me to just tell the story, I got away from if it's going to be big, if I make a lot of money, that I just wanted to touch somebody's heart and let them know they can get through this. I did.
Yes.
And you can too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That is so needed. And I think a lot of times when God is calling us to do something, there is that imposter syndrome like, why me? What?
Mhm.
I can't do this.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, and he's already gifted us, and we just have to, like, as you did, be obedient and say,
Mhm.
okay, I'm going to do it.
Just don't do it. Just don't do it.
One of the areas in the book that really stood out and that just resonated with me a lot is the area of forgiveness.
Hmm.
And I'd love you to speak to just your journey of forgiveness and what people need to understand about forgiveness for themselves, not necessarily for anyone else, but
Anyone
for
else.
themselves.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So forgiveness is what I've learned in my journey, and I've had even some teaching on it back when I was a member at Bethel. They did an extensive study on forgiveness through the scripture, and what I've learned is that the only person that's held up in bondage is you. And we're so fixated on no but they, no but he, and but she, and you don't understand what they, instead of releasing you, I can't even explain the level of weight that is lifted once you do that. It's amazing. And I
Hmm.
mean, it is, for me in my journey, it's instantly when you say it and you release it, it's like, oh my God, I just feel so better saying that. You're like gritting your teeth to hang on to it. But once you release it and let it go, it's a ton of weights that are lifted off of your shoulder. What
Hmm.
I then found later is that it doesn't necessarily mean that you are excusing the behavior that they've done. It doesn't even necessarily mean that you're going to enter back in a close, tight relationship with something, because it could still be a very toxic situation,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
still is allowing you to live and be free and move forward in the other things that God has for you. Because if not, you're still stuck in that same place. How you
Hmm.
know that you're stuck, one of the things that I've always recognized about people, you constantly bring it up. It's the start of every conversation. It's how you meet people. It's how you exit a relationship, enter a relationship. It's constantly coming up. And whether you're going through a divorce or a rape, such as I have gone through both, whatever it is, you got to let it go.
Yeah.
Got to let it go.
Yeah.
Got to.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things you said during your journey is that you sought out therapy and counseling, and we
Mm-hmm.
know that's important, but there are
Mm-hmm.
other components in reference to just not just counseling, but other things that really helped you go through that process. And I
Mm-hmm.
know, especially in the African American community, a lot of times we have this stigma about counseling. You
Mm-hmm.
definitely want the right therapist. You don't want no
That's right.
everybody.
That's right.
But tell me about your experience with just therapy and then the other things you realized that you needed outside of that.
Definitely therapy. Like I said, at that time, I was sitting under the beautiful and wonderful Sister Kitty and Pastor Hockett, and they, yes, they got me plugged in. I believe at the time it was called Mercy, is what it was called, but they got me plugged into a Christian therapist. And I was seeing her initially one day a week, and I was seeing a regular therapist, rape therapist, 3 days a week.
Mm,
And basically, what I have found is that with the regular therapist, it was needed and it took me to a certain point. But then what began to happen is we were continuing to rehearse and medicate, rehearse and medicate, rehearse and medicate. And then one day I just was like, I know what happened. I don't need to rehearse it anymore. And this medication is not propelling me forward. It's keeping me sedated and technically stuck. So, did it have its place? Absolutely. It had its place and it was needed for me to get over the hump. But once I got over the hump, I needed to transition into the Christian therapist and showing me how to get forward, where to put this pain and how to, kind of span it out through forgiveness, walking that out, what that looked like. So though she was a Christian therapist, she too was just was able to break things down in the natural so I could make it applicable in my life. And when you've been hurt to that degree, it's hard. It's so hard to move on, but it's harder when that element of unforgiveness is there. So I am a huge fan and huge advocate of the right Christian therapy is very needed. Very needed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the things that you mentioned, I remember when my niece was murdered in Nashville, and I started going to these grief sessions with my sister. And every time we left, we felt worse. We were like, "Wait a minute, this ain't helping."
Mm-mm.
And some of the people that were in these sessions had been coming for years and hadn't moved
Years,
past. And
years.
I looked at her. I said, "We're we got to find something different, or you need to start something."
Yeah,
Because to bring all of that up every time you come and you don't leave like better or moving on to that next level,
right.
you'll never forget your daughter, but they're having you relive this every time we come, and these people been here for 20 years still reliving
Still
a
at the same
death.
place. Hmm.
Still the same place.
Same place.
And that's what made her start a faith-based. She said, "We need to have some hope in the room."
Yeah.
There's no hope in the room.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I really remember that when I was reading your story, how at some point we have to get to a place where we were like, okay,
Hmm.
I know the faith piece of me. I know my Christian faith is the other piece of this is just going to help me move forward. So I was so glad to see that. And I think more people need to realize that that is okay. Because some
Hmm.
people think they can't, you know, j- they can't do therapy, or if they do therapy,
Right.
they have to stay in it forever. But at some point, you
Mm.
get
No,
better and you have to figure out
gotta
what
get
is the
better.
next level
Mm.
of
Uh,
care for you.
yeah. And I would absolutely add that piece to anybody seeking therapy. Self-examine or have a friend to kind of self help to examine you as a person. Are you getting better? You shouldn't
Yes.
still be in the same place. There should be growth. Same with
Hmm.
training, working out, all of those pieces. There should be growth over time. If you're still in the same place after therapy, after 3 months and 6 months and a year, that's an issue. That's no longer therapy.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good.
That's
Ah,
not
yes.
therapy. That's just a band-aid on a wound that's never going to heal.
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. Before we move on to your entrepreneurship journey, I want you to tell people because I was like, they're not getting all the nuggets. I need them to go buy the book. Can you tell them where they can where they can go get the book?
Yes. Yes, so it is on iTunes, Amazon, and definitely Barnes and Noble it can be ordered through any of those avenues. So that's the beautiful thing. I did kind of minimize and had to stop on the book signing after the first one, of course, due to COVID. They're just not
Mhm.
letting the big groups get together. But you still can get it, and you still can order, and you still can bless it to someone else that is going through a trying time.
So, what do you hope that people that read your book leave with? What are you hoping that they gain from reading the book?
Honestly, I just really want people to gain how I think we just sometimes we minimize God. We put him on the back
Yeah.
burner and we say, well, all I can do is pray. Don't say that. That's the first thing you need to do. He is
Yes.
what is going to get you through. Though I had the tools of Pastor and Sister Kitty and Pastor Hockett, and I had those, implement, but it was really God that got me through. I would not have made it. I'm,
Hmm.
yeah, gun to the head and blow your brains. I can see that. You don't know
Yes.
what else to do, especially if you came up in a world where you thought that could never happen to me. So, yeah, I want them to realize that God should be their first run to and your last. Let it be your first and final. That's number
Mm,
one. Definitely hope and that you can make it through. The other things for my women is that I didn't want them to feel like you were raped and that's it. No, that's not it. It's just happened to you. And there's so much more to my story. That's just the chapter. Don't
mhm.
let it be you and wear that cloth of I was raped. I'm just a victim. And that's the end of my story because it's not. It's so much
Yeah,
more. So much more.
absolutely. And I'm with the lady that gave you the word that there's some more books in you. I see some journals. I see some more
Yes.
speaking. I see it. As I
Yes.
was reading this, I said, okay, okay, this is
Right.
not your first.
This is not the first. No. So what I'm working on now is I'm trying to get a curriculum to get into some of these rape centers that will stem
Yes,
from that book. Some just simple five
absolutely.
steps on how to come out of that particular situation, what scriptures to stand on, what to start confessing daily, and then how to basically speak life over your perpetrator.
Oh, that's so good and
Yeah.
so needed. That is so good
Yes.
and so needed.
Yeah.
And I want to talk a little bit about your business as a trainer. To me, it's ministry. Like I was like, no, it's not just going in there and working out. It's ministry. So talk to me a little bit about why you decided to start your fitness business.
So fitness, it's definitely been my heart probably as a child. Like I said, growing up in California, you had an option to do weight training or gym. And where I despised running, which was a part of gym, I chose weight training. So I ended up falling in love with it. Then one day I was doing a fast with my pastor and the church, and I wrote this book on purpose so that you may find out yours by John Stanko. And when I finished, the Holy Spirit had dropped in my spirit YBHT. Those letters meant absolutely nothing to me at the time, but about 3 to 6 weeks later, then I got the revelation of your body, his temple.
Wow.
Then a little bit after that, he gave me the revelation of your babies, his treasures, which is my nonprofit side. Yeah, that was to help the babies and the young kids that were at a disadvantage for working out and learning about health and fitness and how to take care of their bodies, but yet still honoring his temple. So he had basically told me just flat out I was going to be helping men and women to gain their lives back through training, but educating them on the spiritual side because something is broken on the spiritual foundation for that to be out of alignment. So I started with one client, and man, it's now will be my 23rd year certified, but
Wow.
I've been in it
Wow.
over 30 years.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's been years, and it's so funny because he's
Wow.
constantly showing me how to trust him, continue to trust him. But right before Thanksgiving this past year, he just told me to go on a fast on social media. And
Mhm.
so I was like, okay, well, come November, December, I was kind of like, God, I need to get back on social media, because this is where I get my new clients. It's the end of the year. And when I tell you he didn't care nothing about my social media, he told baby, he said, you trust me. You don't do it the way everybody else is doing it. I said, trust me, stay off. And just to show you, normally in the years past, I get about 2 to 3, maybe one new client at the top of the year. No social media, no posting, and out of obedience, I picked up 9 clients.
Wow.
So I'm still off of social media. So those who've been tagging, I don't know. I'll catch you when I get
Right.
off this fast. But he did bless me with 9 to 10 new clients just on their own. I haven't even been on since before Thanksgiving. So I was like, wow,
Look at
okay.
God.
But
If
he'll
we would
remind you,
only trust him.
you got to
Yes,
trust him because he will remind you, I am your provider. I bring your clients. Like he puts it back in perspective quickly. So it
absolutely.
keeps you very humbled, and I rely on him.
Absolutely. And that's an entrepreneur. If you're not relying on him,
Mhm.
you'll be quitting every day. Like, Lord, I need to
You
go
will.
work for somebody, or I need
You
to.
will.
And I've
Mhm.
always like knew. I mean, the
Yeah.
doors, I'm the same. The doors he's opened at the end of 2021 into 2022, it's nothing I could have done on my own. And when we
Never.
continue to trust him, and
Hmm.
allow him to open the doors and bring, because some people we're not supposed to be working with anyway, and we'll be just like, let me go get them, they'll pay. And Lord's like, no, that's
Hmm.
not one of your clients,
Hmm.
or that's not somebody you need to work with. And
Hmm.
so that trusting part, especially as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur,
It's huge.
it's huge.
It's huge. It's everything. It's everything. So
Can you
it's
remember a story from
mhm.
one of your clients that just resonates with you every time you think about what you do, and wonder why you're doing it? Is it a client that you remember that really you say, okay, I know this is why I'm doing it. This person reminds me of that every time I think of them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I recall a client specifically. It's the words after. Trainers don't typically get a whole lot of a highlight
Hmm.
because the client is in the forefront. They're the ones that's lost the weight. They've done this, they've done that. So it typically the trainer's kind of in the background, and it's the that back letter that you get after they've changed their life, changed their eating years later, and it might have been about 6 years ago, but she couldn't have kids, couldn't get pregnant, just morbid
Hmm.
overweight. And doctor told her she just needed to do this and do that, get the weight off, change her eating, buy all this good stuff. So she did. And many years later, she had children, not once, not twice, but 3 times.
Wow.
Was still holding on to every piece of work that I've given her, workouts, food regimen, keeping her body whole without getting the surgery. And that is just, it's a reminder. It's like a little love note nugget that, this is why I do what I do. Because it's
Yes.
life changing for them, especially the ones where their husbands jump on board and now they're losing weight, and then you forgot about it. They've gone on. Then you run into them years later, and they're like, we still working out. Like we are teaching our kids everything you taught us. Like it changed our life. So those are little nuggets that just kind of remind me, this is why I do what I do. It's so fulfilling.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's so good. I remember one time, I think it was a group of us at your house, and you were doing the meal. And
Hmm.
one of the people that you had, like, I have gone and cleared her house out of stuff she shouldn't be eating. And here's the, I mean, and I think we forget that it's not uh the food, the healthy food is not nasty. It's just how you're cooking it. And it just
Hmm.
reminded me when we watched you cook that meal, how it can still be good for you and taste good. So
Yes.
I am still using that. I went
Yes.
plant-based and vegan meals last year. I've been that for about almost 2 years now.
Uh-huh.
And I went back and was like, okay, Tina said this stuff can taste good. Let me put my let me put my touch
Put it
on it
together.
so I can eat it. And now it's just like your taste buds will change and adapt to
They
whatever
will.
you're
Hmm.
putting there.
They
And
absolutely will.
I have remembered that, and just appreciate just you looking at the whole person and
Yes.
not just go lose the weight. No, what are you eating? How are you
Yeah.
spending time with God? I mean, you
Yeah.
incorporated all of that.
That's right.
And I
Yeah.
and I really love that about you, and know that God is going to continue to expand even what you're doing in that fitness space. And in
Thank
this past year, you came out with a clothing line. Tell me a little bit about that. How is that going?
Yeah, so that went well. It was basically frustration inside of COVID. and went to put on a bodysuit. And I was like, man, I ordered this bodysuit because the other one was like $200. And the other one, I was like, it was like, I don't know, $20. And the material was just terrible. And so I was just like out loud, like, why don't they make a bodysuit that's right in between? Why does it have to be $250 for quality?
Right.
Then when you say 20, there's no quality. Can it just be some quality right in the middle and not even be so pricey high? And it's, God is just funny. He was in my
You
spirit.
know
It's
what
just like,
happens when you do that.
right. He's like, make your own. And I'm like, now there you go. Make your own. You already know I don't have the money to. So I went through that whole cycle again. And I finally was like, you know what? I'm going to make my own. This time I'm going to get right to it. And so I started contacting different vendors and looking at different material until I found something that was going to be able to hold, support, and shield and cover the spots we're not so excited about. But then I didn't want to put it to be $200. It just, I
Yeah.
didn't, yeah, just put it a little bit more affordable for people. So threw in a hoodie because a lot of times I felt like the hoodies weren't feminine. They were just so boxy. And so I threw in a hoodie with some little bows on the side and then a leather bag. The bag, again, I was tired of seeing, leather bags being 200, 300, $400. It's like, why can't it just be $75? It's simple.
Right,
But
right,
I wanted
right.
a place for you to put your shoes and wet towels separate from the clothes inside of the zip part. So I did just that. And when I did it, did it, done. And I was like, okay, now I'm looking at God like, I did it. Now what?
Right.
I did it. So I put
That
that
is
out. And
awesome.
man, when I released it, I think we sold out in 2 days on the first go around. Then I grabbed another batch, and that one took a little bit longer, about 3 or 4 weeks. And I had still a little bit of product left over. So right now I'm doing really good with that, and just kind of just letting it coast. But
Mhm.
that's just what, and you're right. That was technically the second round of
Yeah.
a clothing line, because I forgot about the first one. I actually forgot about it until an old client came in with that on. And I was
Yes.
like, oh my goodness, I forgot I did this years ago.
Years ago, I still got my Trainer Tina shirt. I was like, I'm keeping this
Yes.
shirt.
Hilarious. So yeah, I was super glad to have done that. And God saw me through and put the right people in my life to help me to bring it to fruition. So it was a blessing.
That's awesome. And I always tell either students that I'm working with at the university level or companies, entrepreneurship is about finding solutions to problems. And that's exactly what you did. You're like, I need
Yes.
something in between this. I need it to
Yes.
fit like this. And as
Yes.
we continue to look at the sectors that we're in and saying, what do I want to see differently? Those are the
Yeah.
kinds of things that God is going to open doors up for us
Yeah.
to, as believers, to be the
I
ones
agree.
that are coming up with the solutions
Yes.
for
I
that.
agree. Yes.
Uh-huh. Do you
Absolutely.
still have, are you still selling those, that last batch, or are you working
Oh
on the
yeah,
next?
everything is still on my website and will remain there.
Okay.
Those were the three pieces, like I said, that were a big deal to me.
Yeah.
There was purpose behind each hoodies. I just wanted it to be feminine, and the
Hmm.
one piece, it wasn't even a matter of. I wanted it to be multifunctional because you can wear it with so many things: blazer jackets, long sweaters. Like, it doesn't have to be fitness workout. It
Yes.
can also be worn in the fitness area. So I kind of wanted it to be multifunctional, but still today, multifunctional bodysuits, they run about $200 for it to be
Yes.
quality. And so
Hmm.
I kind of wanted to put a different spin to it, multifunctional, and it's not $200, but still quality.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
yeah, everything is still on my website and will remain on my website.
What can you give everybody your website address? And I'm going to put it also when we post, we'll add it to that as well.
Yes. So it's YBHTfitness.com.
Great. So
YBHTfitness.com.
so you guys, you go and order your fitness
Yes.
gear, your book, your fitness session.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, I'd like what's next for you? What are you going to be working on? What do you hear God saying for you that's next?
So right now I'm in school finishing up my life coach license.
Oh, yes.
I really believe that that is what's going to help me propel my clients to the next level. I think these first over 30 years now has been more, you know, you can do this, it's discipline, it's a mind made up, which all of those things are still there. But when you're dealing with obesity, or even just overweight, a lot of times there's some other mental blockage. And I felt like being a life coach would help me to gear them through and walk them through those particular items. So I'm in school for that right now. And then, of course, my other focus is finishing up this tool for people to get in, just to be able to walk through. I got to get a curriculum done based from the book, just to show them how to get through. So that
Mm-hmm.
you read my story, but now you know my story. Now how do I get through these steps?
Mm-hmm.
She overcame, and this is what she did. Now, how do I? And want to make it
Yes.
applicable. So it'll be a very short curriculum, just something that they can quickly make reference to, maybe 5 pointers, and that's it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Great, great, great. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to that. And any way that I can help, you know where to find me uh,
Yes.
to
Thank
help you
you.
with that. And before we close out, what is one thing that you would like to leave those that will be watching this conversation to remember about themselves or about their journey and what they're going through?
The main thing would just be, remember that you have the power to change the narrative. You have the power to change the narrative. It is not, I was raped and it's just the end of a sentence with a period. It's just, it happened to me, comma.
Yeah.
There's so much more to your life. So just remember that. Let God be your first and your final, and He'll help you to change that narrative to move you forward.
Great. Thank you, Tina, for joining me today for this conversation and to catch up and
Thank you.
see your beautiful face. We
Yay.
will definitely do other things together. And I
Thank
look
you.
forward to really seeing what God has you doing next because you've already been doing the life coaching. Now you're just getting the certification to continue
Certification.
to do it.
Yes.
And I'm excited about that. But thank you
Thank you
so
so
much
much.
for
Thank you
joining
for
in
having
today.
me.
You're
See you soon.
welcome. Okay.
Okay. All right. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.